University, the voice of Reichman University.
כל האוניברסיטה אודיוורסיטי.
And so when we started Zion, for the first time in my life, I went to meet Christian leaders and Muslim leaders. I never did that. I grew up, not only did I not know other Jews, of course I did not know Muslims and Christians. So for the first time, I remember the first meetings we had, inviting to our homes Christian leaders, Muslim leaders. I remember my beloved teacher, Professor Alice Shalvi, who was then 85, meeting, an incredible Christian leader and telling him, but why are you not married? You're such an incredible person. You should have a family. And he looked at her with patience and he explained why he made that choice. It was a beautiful moment. And since then we have become friends. We created a circle called Amin, Muslim, Christian, and Jews. We pray together, each one in his own language. We learn together. We stand for justice together.
Welcome to Raw, a podcast where we confront the complexities of war from the inside out. I'm Anouk, a journalist, author, yoga teacher, and meditation practitioner. Raw, or war spelled backwards, symbolizes how many of us feel in the face of the Israel-Gaza conflict: exposed, vulnerable, and seeking understanding. Here, we don't just discuss the external battles, but dive deep into our internal struggles, examining how this violence has shaken our very core. Join me in conversations with philosophers, psychologists, and spiritual leaders as we explore how to navigate these painful times with wisdom and resilience, finding guidance for our own paths through this raw, unfiltered world. This episode was originally recorded in February, but I believe Tamar's quiet wisdom is more prescient than ever, and I am sure you will find that to be true as well. At 7 years old, while attending a sewing class at her religious school in Israel, a realization struck Tamar Elad-Appelbaum. While she was learning to sew, the boys were studying Mishnah. This sparked an unquenchable thirst for Jewish knowledge within her. Today, Tamar stands among a small yet expanding circle of female rabbis in Israel, leading a pioneering community in Jerusalem known as Zion or Zion. Tamar, who was named by the Forward as one of the 5 most influential female religious leaders in Israel for her work promoting pluralism and Jewish religious freedom, lives in Jerusalem with her husband and 3 daughters. Tamar, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy you allowed me to take this time. It's a crazy time for all of us. And so sitting together, listening to each other, it's a very big thing.
There's this quote by Viktor Frankl where the Holocaust survivor, where he says, between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. And in that space lies our freedom to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. And I keep coming back with my guests to that space because I think what's happened to us, to the Jewish people in Israel, is of such extraordinary magnitude that in order to respond from a place of wisdom, we need to find that space. And there's another quote, old tale from Vietnam, where they used to say, if on these ancient Vietnamese fishing vessels, if there was a storm, if everybody got nervous, then the boat would capsize, or if everybody freaked out. But if just one person out of the 10, 15, 20 people on that boat
remained calm in the face of the storm, then everybody remained calm. And the reason I'm saying that is because I'm speaking with wisdom teachers like you about the war and October 7th. And what I'm wondering is, on October 7th and in the days after, were you able to keep some of that internal calm? Or, like me, where I completely lost it, did you also lose that connection?
Every time we are baffled and in shock, we have an opportunity to respond in a way that we never expected, and we become teachers. Many times the biggest victims in that moment of shock, they grow to become the teachers. And most humans, unfortunately, go through terrible moments of trauma. They never chose it. They never wanted it. But many, many people, too many, as children, as adults, as men, as women, they go through trauma and they grow to become teachers of wisdom. So maybe all of us are a big body of wisdom, of pain that creates wisdom. And I want to say that it's interesting that in Jewish tradition, the name of God, of Hashem, is Hamakom, the space. So I think God is in that boat all the time. And he trembles with that boat all the time and also moves it. But when we sit together with each other and with God, acknowledging that we are in a terrible, terrible storm, seeing the storm, acknowledging the storm, not in being indifferent or denying the storm, not saying that it's a beautiful pastoral sight. That first moment of sharing the earthquake together, emotional or ethical or physical, that opens the space. And I just want to say that I was exactly where you were. I'm human. I was shocked. I was in the boat. I was trembling. I couldn't breathe. I was crying. And the word happy is not at all relevant, but this is my choice. This is our choice, responsibility to be human, to be in that boat and feel and start the compass and the journey with the heart, with the mind, and with a conscience.
I'd like to take a step back and ask you to share a little bit about your personal journey. If you can share with me, with our listeners, how you came to be a rabbi and how your personal journey has also changed since October 7th.
First, I'll say I was never, ever intended to be a rabbi. I never thought women could be rabbis. I never met a woman rabbi. I grew up in a very traditional Jewish home.
I just heard yesterday, by the way, that I said I said in Hebrew, אני מראיינת רבנית, I'm interviewing a rabbanit, and they said, no, it's not rabbanit, that's the wife of a rabbi, it's a rabbah.
Nachon. It's true. Well, I want to say that there was the first wave of women asked to be Rav, like a rabbi man, Rav. When I came to the rabbinate, I was actually the first to ask for a rabbah, which is like the difference between a mother and a father. I wanted to be a mother. I wanted to be a rabbah, a woman rabbi in Hebrew. I felt I don't want to be like men. This is not about becoming someone else. This is about being me. And with all the qualities and all the flaws that each one of us received, and being here as a woman rabbi, I really wanted to connect to all the women leaders that our people had. Huge, great women, Sarah and Rebecca, and Dvorah and Miriam and Esther. But also I wanted to open a space for women to become leaders of communities and to lead a life of rabbinic leadership. And so it was very far away from anything I knew. And I couldn't imagine, and I did not even think of that as an option. I grew up in a beautiful family, Orthodox, traditional. Um, and, I was supposed to grow and become a mother with children, and go to shul, to the synagogue, and to learn from the rabbi, who was a man. Um, and I loved all that world of tradition and synagogue and prayers and text and the sacred work. I always would go to the synagogue of my family to pray, and I asked to learn more. And it took me a long time to even understand that I was sitting in a section of women behind the men. I didn't notice that because we were all there for God. I didn't even see it. It took me a long time to notice. But one day when I was a student, at the age of 22, I was just about to get married with my husband, Yossi, and I was about to finish my first degree, which was in Jewish philosophy and history and literature. And it was my whole world, the context of our tradition. And I sat with a very good friend of mine and asked him what he was about to do when he finishes his BA, his first degree. And said he was going to learn to become a rabbi. We were sitting in the cafeteria of the Hebrew University eating couscous, with Rachel, the best couscous ever. And he said he was going to become a rabbi, and it sounded wonderful. I was really happy for him, for the people of Israel, for the world. He would be an incredible leader. And then he asked me what I was about to do, and I said, I'm going to keep on to my master's degree, and I'm going to learn to become a teacher. I think this is what I'm going to do. And then he stopped in the middle of the couscous, which for us Moroccans is not something you do. And he said, Tamar, I heard that there are women rabbis in the world, in America. I actually know that there were women rabbis before, in generations before us, in Morocco, in Turkey, different women in different places, in the Hasidic Poland world. And I actually think you need to become a rabbi. And I remember I came back to my Yossi and I said, do you know that there are women rabbis in the world? And he looked at me and he said, I never heard about it, but I know you. And this is exactly what you were supposed to do. You will be a woman rabbi. And we started a journey, which we never expected, to different worlds and places, getting to know new people. I remember the first day after being ordained, sitting as the rabbi of a community down south, and someone putting a sign, Rabbi Tamar, and I looked to the right and to the left and I said, who is she? And it took me time to understand. It was me. I chose to do that. But when you put aside all these, degrees and words, I chose rabbi. I always say it comes from the word harbe, many. It's being devoted to knowing the many people, the many faces of God, the many pains. And rabbi comes also from the Hebrew word arvut, which means solidarity. It's being in solidarity. Many times I feel that politics is about the strong, the ones who are strongest in the room and who have a lot of power. And I think the rabbinate and the world of religion and faith is about the weak, being with those with who no one sees, no one hears, being in solidarity with them. And so in action, this is what I wanted to do all my life. And today I am a mother of an amazing family and girls that Yossi and I have had the privilege to bring to this world. And also, in a way, a public mother to a community, an rabbinic seminary, and many people who are my teachers in walking the way of life.
In your synagogue, community center, Zion in Jerusalem, you have many programs, and one of which is interfaith work. I'd love to hear a little bit about that, and also how has the ongoing war affected that work, and what have been the challenges and maybe unexpected opportunities that have arisen?
First, indeed, as you said, in our community, Zion, you know that Zion, Zion, means a place of conscience. It's where we are supposed to ascend everything and arrive to metzuyanut, to excellence of humanity. And so in the mystical tradition and in many of the prophetic traditions in the Jewish world, Zion is that point. Jerusalem is that point. And Zion is the point within Jerusalem that brings all of us together. Jews from every world, but also Christians and Muslims. It is the heart of the world, Zion. So when Yossi and I, my husband and I, for many years we walked in different ways of Israel. We went to see down south of people and up north and in Tel Aviv and abroad. We wanted to know the Jewish people because both of us grew up in an Orthodox world, which was we knew only Orthodox Jews. We never met anyone else. And so the first thing was to create a trail, like Shvil Israel, a trail of Israel, and meet our people, our family. You know, for too long, people have been in the past 200 years, 300 years, separating themselves because of ideology. But what brings us together is family. We are a family. So we wanted to meet our family, secular and ultra-Orthodox and reform and conservative. And during that trail, we also met Muslims, Bedouins, Druze, Cherkesim, our family in this country. And so when our grandparents passed away, which were incredible grandparents from one side, and my grandfather and mother were from Morocco, and they told us many stories about living with Muslims together, caring for each other. And on the other side, my grandparents were from France. They went through the Holocaust, and yet our family was saved by Christian Jesuit priests who saved them and were righteous Gentiles, which we always heard about. And we felt that we cannot build that world, that mythical vision of the future for which we came back to the state, without building Zion in Jerusalem, in the holy city, that will also invite working with other worlds and faiths. And so when we started Zion, for the first time in my life, I went to meet Christian leaders and Muslim leaders. I never did that. I grew up, not only did I not know other Jews, of course I did not know Muslims and Christians. So for the first time, I remember the first meetings we had, inviting to our homes Christian leaders, Muslim leaders. I remember my beloved teacher, Professor Alice Shalvi, who was then 85, meeting, an incredible Christian leader and telling him, but why are you not married? You're such an incredible person. You should have a family. And he looked at her with patience and he explained why he made that choice. It was a beautiful moment. And since then we have become friends. We created a circle called Amin, in which we work and we do kindness together. We collect clothing for the poor. We give together tzedakah, money for the poor. Muslim, Christian, and Jews, we pray together, each one in his own language. We learn together. We stand for justice together. Every time there's a hate crime, we stand together against that hate crime. So it's very important. And I want to say that this circle of men, for me, was one of the most important moments of the 7th of October, because on the 7th of October, it was Shabbat, it was a Sabbath and a holiday, Simchat Torah. And it was shocking and terrifying. On that morning, we were going to the synagogue, not knowing what had happened. We don't use the phone on Shabbat. And very slowly, the sirens started one after the other. And we had to, collect the community, make sure that everyone is going back home safely. And the first phone call I received on that night when Shabbat came out was from my friends from the Amen Circle. My Muslim friend, Sheikha Ibtisam, who called me first and asked me how I was and shared how sorry and ashamed she is, how this is not Muslim and in no way helps anyone. And this threatens everything that all of us believe in, and threatens the dignity of human beings, and threatens the dignity of God, of our God that created all of us. And she asked to pray for the hostages. She has asked to pray for the dead. And she supported me so much as my friend here in Israel, a Muslim friend, and so did my Christian friends. And since that moment, we did not let go from each other. And everything we did, we made sure to talk with each other, help each other. And one of the things I understand today even more so is that when all the trust is broken, and we are living in a very broken world of broken trust, and when the truth is broken and this world is becoming more and more far from truth, then these leaders have a very serious job of being trustworthy and reaching out to each other in the most difficult time. And I saw leaders. I was really amazed to see leaders who took the responsibility to defend the image of God through their love for the Jewish people, the Israeli people, and their commitment to guard each other. And I know that for me it was very significant to see that. And I want to say that in our community, we have been doing a lot of work since the 7th of October, supporting many, many different societies. And it was clear to us that we support Jews and we support Muslims and we support Christians because that's our job, and we do it in the name of our tradition. That's what my grandparents taught us to do. So this is an ancient call to be tolerant in a moment of war.
As a rabbi, as someone who sanctifies life, when you see not only what happened to us as Israeli and Jews, but what's happening as a result of the war in Gaza, the suffering there, the children who are dying, the unimaginable suffering, what lessons do you draw? And do you have a political stance, or do you remain in the spiritual?
Well, first, I want to say that this is a very important question. There is a world of spirituality that is escapism. It runs away from reality. Also, almost sometimes is indifferent. It doesn't matter if everything is good. It doesn't matter if everything is bad. You are in a high space. I don't believe in that. I believe that true spirituality is within reality. The Sfaradim Jews, they always say Shamayim. When they do something very practical, they say Shamayim, sky. You bring the sky to the world, to the everyday life, to the war, to the pain, to the suffering, to the sorrow, to the conflict. And so for me, the junction between spiritual and moral, that point of those two creates sanctity and holiness. And I always check myself to see whether I'm running away or coming closer. And it's not about lighting in a world of light. It's lighting in a world of darkness. And that makes us worthy of, as if we were fireflies. God made small fireflies, and each one of us is a firefly in the abyss. And we have to make sure to bring that light, but to bring it to the place that needs it. So I think, just this past Shabbat, I spoke of the beautiful poem that the first chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Avraham Yitzchak Cohen Cook, wrote a poem about the song and the sorrow of the world. And he speaks about 4 elements and levels of the song and the sorrow of the world. The first is the private, my private song, my private pains and hopes. And then there's the people, our family, which is the Jewish family, but also the Israeli family, all of us together. But then there's the third realm, which is the realm of the human, and feeling the song, the sorrow of the human, all human. And the fourth is all creation. And only when you have all realms, you can sing the song of songs, the song of God, the song of wholeness. And so we cannot, and the name Israel, Israel, comes from the word shir, song. We were meant to sing the song of 4 elements. God's name is a song of 4, always. Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. It's made of 4 realms. So we cannot sing a song of God if we do not hold all those 4 elements. in this moment, I said to my community, I expect all of us to follow the ways of God. God, even as he did his greatest project of taking the people of Israel out of Egypt and asking them to never, ever be Egypt in this world, a world that takes people and undignifies them, and to be as far as that is possible. When the Egyptians drown in the sea, he says to the people of Israel, my humans are drowning in the sea, and you and I, how can we sing? So, and since then, every Passover, we don't sing a full song. The Jews sing only half a song, like taking a flag and putting it down for the sake of those Egyptians. And in Passover, we think of the Egyptians. So, of course, the same should happen now in Gaza. We need to remember them, to feel sorrow for children, infants, toddlers, women, elderly. And our community sat there. It's a community that has warriors in the IDF. Some of them were there after not being at home for 3 or 4 months. It was the first evening they came back. And they sat and cried for themselves and cried for the people of Gaza. And I felt as close to the Song of Songs as I could in that moment on that past Shabbat evening. But I want to say that it seems to me that as a rabbi and as a human being, that this is a moment in which all of us will have to choose. All of us will have to choose to stand against cruelty, any cruelty. I want to say that Hamas is cruelty. Any human who takes the life of others, and of course never seeing what the difference is. It doesn't matter if it's a Jew or a Bedouin or a Muslim or a Christian or a Thailandi or a Nepali. It's just killing. It's the choice to kill, to hurt. And we should stand against those who choose to hurt. And we should stand together against those who endanger everything that we believe in, the world of dignity, the world of never hurting another person, and create a world of gentleness, of solidarity. So this moment is a call for all of us. War is always terrible for everyone. War is the failure of everything we have created, and this is a failure of the people of Gaza who took upon themselves a life with Hamas, and the people of Israel who need to rebuild their commitment to peace. We need to do this together. Now we have to rebuild together, and we have to build it better than what it was before.
I'm not religious, but I love quotes by spiritual leaders, by thinkers, by wisdom teachers of all faiths and background. And you just reminded me of this quote by Rabbi Talfon, which says, "It is not our responsibility to finish the job of perfecting the world, but neither are we free to desist from trying." And the vastness, the enormity of the sorrow and the horror that is happening right now, I think can lead to many people just going to this place of disconnection, bypassing, even spiritual bypassing of, this is bigger than me. This is way beyond anything that I can do. It's not from a place of should or I must think this way or do this way. And that's really been my experience with this podcast, where in the first few weeks after the massacre, I didn't have that space. And so I really had to be in silence. I went away with my family. We fled for 3 weeks to this beautiful place in nature. And the should part of my brain is thinking that's not what you should have done. To leave, to flee, to leave everybody behind. You should have been more brave. But the space within me was very clear that I needed to be in nature. And I was silent for a very long time. And it's only recently that this silence and this nourishment that I took in for myself, and this internal rebuilding allowed me to hear the call of what in my case I can do, which is, conversations like these with you. And so I've gone off on a tangent here, but you really inspired me to remember that quote by Rabbi Tarfon.
תודה. It's a beautiful quote, and it's beautiful that you love quotes. And the space that you created is important because it's not about either being or doing. It's about the connection between the two. Rabbi Tarfon says, "Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor." Melacha is one of the beautiful words for work. And melacha is really the commitment to be a farmer. Be a farmer of this world, of faith, of kindness, of standing against cruelty. In the Jewish world, there are mitzvot, we have commandments. Some of them are things that should be done, and some of them are things that should not be done. And the more I live, I see that for many, many people, it's very difficult to stand against things that are wrong. We allow cruelty to grow under our feet, next to us, in so many realms. One of the terrible things about kind people is that they're not brave enough to stand against cruelty. And so we need to learn together to stand against cruelty, to stand against extremism, not to allow people of cruelty, indifference, apathy, and extremism to lead us anywhere, and to be able to grow like farmers a reality that takes care of everyone, that finds a way to give space to everyone. Because as we started and we opened with the word space, hamakom, the name of God, God has given us his space, his care, and it's endless. And we did not find the way to negotiate how we can all not live in a world of either or, but live here together. So this is about figuring out our world. This is the work that farmers do when they find a way, hole after hole, plowing and seeding for many trees to create the tree of life, which is never one but a forest. The tree of life is a forest that has many, many trees. And we, in a world that is very individualistic, a modern world on the one hand, and on the other hand, very extremism, collectively, we have to find a different path, a path of a collective that takes care of everyone. That is the path of God. That is hamakom. That is the space. And when you took some time off to do that, I think you took time off in order to go back and create a space for the collective like you are creating now. And I hope that every person who hears you and your wisdom and the quotes and the people that you meet, they will take a moment to listen to themselves, to go inside, and then to ask themselves what is their work, their farming work, as they go out to the world and make space for us together.
Thank you so much for that.
The Jewish mystical tradition says that our heart is wrapped by the lungs, and the two lungs are like a dove, and they sit wrapping the heart and giving it space, but also breathing into it air. And they are two lungs, like two wings. One wing is the wing of love. That's the space of openness, of things that have no boundaries. When we almost feel physically that we are all one with the trees and the world and the creation. And the second wing is the wing of reverence. It's the wing of knowing that you are you. You have your thoughts, you have your needs, you have your pains, and I am I, and it's a wing of separation. One is the wing of love, and the second is the wing of dignity. One has no boundaries, and the second must and should create boundaries. And when you work with both wings together, in a world that has love and also gives space, differentiation, and dignity, then your heart is safe. And when your heart is safe, it can talk, it can listen, it knows exactly what it was meant to do in this world.
And if we can just remember that space, just to go back to that space, to witness the beauty and the infinity and the interconnectedness of everything, and witness this humanity, which is so stained in so many terrible and beautiful ways. We can go back to the center. Tamar, I want to thank you again for joining me and for going a little bit over time. I really appreciate it. Thank you for listening. This has been Raw. To listen to more of our episodes, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you find your podcasts. I'm Anouk Laurie. Goodbye.